Welcome, everybody. I have with me a very special guest. Mr. Byron Herrington is joining us today. And for those of you who don't know Byron, you're about to find out because Byron's a great character. He's a wonderful conductor, and I love working with him. Byron, thank you very much for joining me on the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. I have some interesting questions for you because I learned quite a bit about you when I was doing my research. You're originally from Idalou, Texas. So where is Idalou, Texas?
Right. Well, all right. So I was born in Lubbock, Texas. So this is in West Texas, and the
Mm-hmm. Yep, by the Panhandle.
right, yeah. And so Idalou is a little town about 8 or 10 miles east of Lubbock,
Oh,
and then
okay.
we lived in a farm on a farm, kind of a family farm at that point that was 3 or 4 miles further east, from Idalou. So really, definitely the country.
Okay, so you lived on a farm. Was it, I assumed it was a working farm? Was it a cattle
Oh yeah.
ranch?
Oh no,
Okay.
no. It was a farm. I mean, and it was mostly raised cotton and maize for that. I think was for animal feed or
Hmm.
something.
Yeah.
Vegetable garden, and we actually did have cattle.
When you were in high school, and you'll have to correct me, see if I got this right or wrong, but when you were in high school, you moved to, is it Ada or Ada, Texas?
Ada, but actually in between. So like when I was about 11, my father kind of just was sort of done with the farming business and sold out his share of this farm, and then we moved to a place called Port Isabel, Texas.
Where's Port Isabel?
Very tip end of Texas near Brownsville and
Oh,
South Padre Island. I mean, really just about as far south as you
boy,
can.
you talk about the opposite ends. You went from
Absolutely.
far northwest to far southeast.
Right.
Or yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and part of it, my father was suffering from a set of lung conditions, moving to a very low, basically sea level, help with the breathing and all that. And then so we lived there about, I think, 5.5 years. And it was a really great place to be. Very, very nice mix of people
Mhm.
there, and it was a small town, but had a really good band program,
Okay.
which
And is
was.
that now that's where you learned to play the trombone then? Is that
Well,
where you started?
I'd started in Idalou, like in fourth grade we had tonette class,
Okay.
which was taught by the band director, and then for fifth grade, they started band. I mean, the school was all on one campus, the elementary through high school, but different
Yeah.
buildings, and so I started, you know, band there, and then we moved to Port Isabel, and so yeah, and so I actually got really good instruction, really in both places, but particularly formative years in Texas, and yeah, and so it was a really a small town band experience, so we weren't playing crazy difficult literature, but a selection of good things and a lot of good musical. Musical and particularly brass instruction. Both the teachers there were trumpet players,
Oh, okay.
and
So at what point did you move to Ada?
yeah. Then my father died, during the time we were living in Port Isabella, and then so my mother decided to move uh, to where her mother lived, which was Ada, Oklahoma, uh,
Oh,
to kind of
okay.
just to be more closer to her family and all of that, and so we moved there, and I went my last 2 years of high school in Ada, Oklahoma,
Okay,
which
so
is.
where is Ada?
Yeah, it's sort of east central Oklahoma. So from, Oklahoma City, I don't know which way this is going to appear, but it's southeast of Oklahoma
Okay.
City, but
Okay.
like an hour's drive or a little more. Um, and yeah, just kind of, here again, pretty pleasant place to live.
Yeah,
Not
small
a, not a
town.
small town, maybe like 16,000 people, something like that. I think was the population at that time.
Okay.
And luckily, here again, a very, very good band program for that size of town. And the teacher there was, very musical. Another brass player. He was, cornet and trumpet player, and a very, not one of these, not like a crazy, screaming head kind of band director. He was, very, very musical and very clear. He's a very experienced teacher, but at that point, and was
Okay.
very, yeah, just really very good with kids, and like I said, very good musical taste.
Okay. So you kind of jumped around to three different towns and you had good band instruction that whole time,
Right.
which
Yeah.
which from there led you to go to the University of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Now, you went there. I assume you studied music when you went to U of O, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because I had by that, because having had these sort of, I think, charismatic band directors, and and being musically talented myself and interested, I thought, oh, maybe I should learn how to, I could do this. um and I was a pretty good trombone player, and so at the University of Oklahoma at that time, the guy, Irvin Wagner, who is a, Midwestern guy, but had done his like master's and doctorate at Eastman School of Music with the very famous trombone teacher Emery Remington.
Mm-hmm.
So he was very much in that, style and kind of teaching technique. And so he had this very big trombone studio. He was the kind of guy, well, and actually still is. This guy is still teaching. He's 80. He's still the university, the trombone professor at OU, and he's, yeah, he's like 80. Let's see what year. So he just, I think he turned 83 this
Oh
year.
my God. And he's still teaching full
And
time.
he is, and he does a recital every year. And I mean, he doesn't play as well as he did, when he was in his 30s. But yeah, it's really amazing. But it was a very, we had a trombone choir, which met every week, and that was basically like the studio class. But it
Okay.
was it was just performing, rehearsing and performing, and he was very good about including anyone who wanted to play. And so you had everywhere, everything from masters and doctoral students, and of course a lot of, all the trombone, music majors, music ed, and all. But a lot of guys who were in engineering, and just all kinds of things. And he was just really great about being able to teach in a way that included everyone,
Okay.
and was and still is very good at mentoring people, and just just dealing with, this huge variety of young to sort of medium old players that because
But
they're,
you had a way of making it fun, right?
well, fun, and also, he was really good about anybody who wanted to play and get better. He was really excellent about taking them from where they were,
Mm-hmm.
and not being, at all insulting about it, or looking down on anyone, but just going, for each individual student, going from where they were, and finding, helping them get better.
Right.
And he
And
wasn't,
and
yeah.
that's the mark of a good instructor is someone who can take what some people have high goals and some people just want to play better, and the whole purpose is to help them get better. So I
Right.
take it when you were at OU you studied performance, is that correct?
Well, yeah, I was originally a music ed major, and then I was there for years. I mean, and because I just love to take classes and play in ensembles. And so, I was on that track. And then there was some point where I thought, I don't think I can figure out how to teach. I'm I'm too crazy to be able to deal with kids, and also kind of not being a morning person. Maybe that was part of it. I just didn't really realize. But you know, when you're there teaching someplace day after day, it's kind of easy to come in and be the one shot hero, you know, doing a clinic or something, you know, if you have some interesting things to talk about. But, you know, just like any job, being there, okay, then what do you do day 2 and day 47 and day 100, you know, 1000? And,
Oh, and we're
yeah,
going to talk about that here in a little bit. We're going to
right,
get to that part. But
right.
okay, so you studied at OU and
Yeah,
you
and
were there for
I
performance,
switched to performance,
right?
and by that time, you know, by the end of my sophomore year, I'd gotten into the professional playing business in the Oklahoma City area.
Hmm.
Really, just referenced by my teacher, but for some reason, there was kind of like a little empty spot in the trombone world for some reason, and I was very good about adapting, listening, and you know, and doing that. So I did lots and lots of recording work. It was mostly just gospel background tracks
Right.
for people, but it was kind of, you know, it wasn't like but there were like several studios in Oklahoma City that were doing that, you know, local commercial ad jingles and, you know, just all kinds of stuff. And there were some really talented guys doing the arranging, you know, and running these studios and all that. And so I was really lucky to have that kind of experience where you're, you know, and I was a good sight reader and, you know, playing well and all that kind of thing. And like I said, a good listener and able to match uh, what was going on, you know,
Right. You could adapt
with
easily.
right with a variety of different kinds of players and different kinds of styles. And so and being able to instantly, you know, because we, you know, run it, do a take, and then listen to it. And so right away you've got this feedback on really excellent equipment, top of the line kind of
Hmm.
stuff. And so that, you know, having that kind of experience, you know, instantly, you know, really improves your playing game,
Hmm.
you know, you know, so very much. So that, yeah, that was, you know, and just all kinds of other gigs, circuses, and you know, like when Barnum and Bailey would come to town. By that time, they weren't doing tents anymore; they were just, you know, doing arena
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah. Full
But it was,
gigantic coliseums, but
but
yeah.
and but you know, gosh, it was God. The first time I played the circus was that was a thing. I mean, you know, you know, like I said, I was a good player and a good sight reader. You know, and you just get this book. The first act book is that, you know, it's like thick like that, and really, literally you're just playing and turning pages,
Yeah.
not
And
much
you are
of that.
playing for 4 hours. No, not 4 hours, 3 hours straight.
Yeah, 3 hour shows, and seemed like all right. So we had like there was a rehearsal Wednesday afternoon, then a show Wednesday night, then a show Thursday, 2 shows Friday, 3 shows on Saturday. So you got 9 hours of this stuff, and I think it was either 2 or 3 shows on the Sunday. You know, so they would just like if it was they were just there that, you
Yeah,
know, that
yeah,
part of
for
the
that
week.
big long weekend.
Yeah,
Boy, I tell you what, you I bet you had to, your chops were hurting by that Saturday night.
well, because I didn't know how to pace myself. So after the Saturday, you know, and young, strong player, everything's fine. I get up on Sunday, and I got these 2 shows to play, and here's what my first note sounded like on the Sunday. I mean, that's all I could do because I didn't know about, you know, icing or any, you know, I didn't know anything other than I just play and everything, you know, because I had a good you know, relaxed and easy way of playing
Right.
that I always kind of had, but also Irv was really good at that. Was kind of his teaching thing. It's like, you know, you find your most, you know, practice a lot and do all the things, but you know, very low tension and very good balance
Hmm.
of all of the elements. You know, which he didn't really talk a lot about anything specific, but you know, he's very good about you know, good balance of things so you don't hurt yourself,
Right.
you know, doing damaging kinds of things. But holy cow, so yeah, and so it took me a while to where I could even make sounds. Luckily, I had a lesson to teach or something, on Sunday morning or something, and that was a shock because I'd never had a situation where I just, other than having like a really bad cold or something, where I had a split lip, where I just, where like there was actual effort involved
Yeah.
trying to even find how could I even make a sound.
I, I have never experienced anything like that, and God help me if I ever had to,
Oh,
because
well,
I don't think, I mean, and I have heard stories about people playing in circus bands, and I've heard trumpet player stories about it, and I just can't imagine playing 9 hours, like three-hour shows, and that music's not easy. I
no,
mean, and you
no,
don't have a chance to, it's playing constantly.
right.
There's no break. There's like,
You,
oh, I
well,
got 30 minutes while this. No, 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 no. It
no,
just keeps
no.
going.
I mean, there's an intermission, but I mean, it's like 15-minute intermission, and that's all you got. So, yeah, so that, but I was able to play those last two shows. I mean, definitely the oil light was on and blinking, but of course, I think I decided I'm not going to play Monday. I'm just not going to.
Yeah, I'm not doing
I may
anything.
have taken a few days off,
Oh my God.
just because I just didn't feel like after doing all that. And I think it was like in June, so I didn't have school stuff or anything like that.
Oh,
So
that's
I
just.
was like, but man, and I tell you, playing the circus, and it was fun. I mean, it was good players, a lot of local players, but also whichever they had two shows at that time, and so you had a few people that guys that were traveling with the show, but the first, I mean, here's a funny gig story, that you're sitting here playing, you're playing this stuff, and then the first time the elephants come by, this is early in the show, they're parading and first time the elephants come by, first you just get this whoosh, because the band is sitting on the floor near, like one end of the arena,
Mhm.
and it's all mic'd and stuff, but you're there, and you're not that far from the action. You weren't like up in the stands anywhere. And I tell you, the first time those elephants come by, you feel the rush of air, and then the next breath you take is like, not just the dust, but just the smell of the elephants. And I'll never forget that. I mean, because you just choke at first, and it just takes a few moments to get over that smell, and just the fact that you've got these enormous animals, 10 to 15 feet away, that are they're moving at a pretty good clip.
Oh yeah, they come in trotting.
They're going around, yeah. And I was like, oh my God, this is just crazy. But and of course you can't watch anything because you're just so busy.
No, you got the music in front of you, and it's like, okay, here we go. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Play
you're
with
just
blinders on.
yeah, tunnel vision, just to kind of, get through the show and not turn two pages at once and all that kind
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah. How not to enjoy the show? Play in the band.
Right, which is fine. I mean, I don't really, but because it was a good gig, and
Oh, that is funny.
but yeah, that was, now the second time I played it, I had learned more about like warm water, cold water, keep the fluid moving, and you don't have to knock the walls down on every piece, kind of pace yourself a little bit.
Pace yourself.
Yeah, but also, doing stuff to take care of the physical,
Yeah.
face, so that you can recover quicker,
Oh,
and
that's funny.
and not be laid up for a few days just from
Oh,
having
yeah, the physical, because it's physical exertion. If anyone thinks that isn't, they're
no.
wrong. It's
Oh yeah.
physical exertion.
Right.
I have my fair share of funny stories with that too, but
Oh
it's
yeah.
physical exertion. So I wanna skip gears, and I want to
Yeah.
talk about when you arrived here in New Mexico, in Albuquerque. So in 1981, you accepted a trombone position with the now defunct New Mexico Symphony Orchestra, and you held that position until they folded in 2011. I mean, that's 30 years that
Right.
you were in that orchestra. So is that what brought you to Albuquerque?
Yeah, that is. Yeah, because I was, I wanted to play somewhere or something,
Hmm.
and I was a good player, but not audition competitive enough to win some big job. But came here and auditioned and got that, this gig, and like the area and the orchestras, it's always pretty good. Um, and so that's what brought me here, and I started you know gathering private students, so
Hmm.
building a studio, which takes a while. I mean, it takes at least a year to build up to where you're doing 20. I think I maxed out at maybe 25 students a week,
Wow, that's a lot of students.
that kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah, that is a lot of students. So,
plus
so
playing in the orchestra.
right, and that's what I was going to say is, I mean, holding a position in the symphony is not a simple task. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to rehearse one night this week with the symphony and then we're going to play. I mean, it's a full-time rehearsal gig, and then you
Well,
have performances.
yeah, I mean, but this, it's not like a big full-time orchestra where you've got 8 services a week every week over and over and over. The schedule's spotty enough that you have plenty of time to do other stuff.
Right.
So
But still, you were, I mean, now, were you, what I couldn't find is, were
I
you
was
principal
I
trombone?
I was second. I played
Okay.
second,
Okay.
and
So you played second trombone and you were in that position for 30 years.
yeah,
That
yeah,
is absolutely amazing. One, to hold the position that long, to be involved that long, that says a lot for your trombone playing. I mean, and I know you're a great trombonist. I have worked with you, but yeah, that's pretty cool to be able to hold that position. And we'll talk about what happened there in a little bit,
yeah, sure.
but yeah, that's pretty crazy. So here's something that I think is funny because you mentioned it before about being an instructor and stuff. After you were here, you went back to school and attended UNM and you graduated with a degree in music education.
Right, right.
So, what convinced you to go back to school?
Well, one of the things that I got into when I came here was doing like low brass sectionals. They had many of the schools had some extra money to pay ancillary instructors, and so a couple of my colleagues, well, and so one of them was Ron Lipka, who was a band, very good band director
Mm-hmm.
around here, was playing second trumpet in the symphony at that time, and he was teaching at El Dorado High School,
Mm-hmm.
and so I taught there and at Sandia and a couple other places. They hired me to do that stuff, and especially watching Ron teach. He had this really great approach. He wasn't like one of these screaming skull marching band nutcase people that you typically, or unfortunately kind of typically see. He was very good because he was really great about teaching the regular just band playing,
Mm-hmm.
and very musical approach. He was very organized without being excessively anal about it,
Mm-hmm.
but so that, and he had a really great way with the students, dealing with all kinds of things that was really fair and even, and here again geared towards the students' development.
Mm-hmm.
Is the way they say it, and compassionate and very good. And the fact that he had this really good jazz band program where not just playing charts and rendering them in a very good manner, but also about improvising.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very and I thought, oh, I really haven't seen something like this where somebody who is a very good musician, creative teacher, really good person, with the students. And I thought, oh God, maybe I could learn to do this, because really kind of what burned me out on doing any teaching was just kind of like the people I would see. and it was just like this, you know, kind of unmusical, uh, regimented, weird, you know, thing that was kind of so far from human humanity and musicality that I just thought, you know, I can't be around that. I don't know, you know. So Ron was like this really good model for
Hmm.
like a way that you could do a this thing where you actually have a musical end result, and that that students have the kind of tools to be able to go out and do a variety of things of whatever they would like to do.
Right. Ron's programs were always based on musicality. It was
Right.
always based on encouragement. It wasn't about, as you said, screaming. The
Right.
idea is to make them enjoy music. You're supposed to enjoy music. That's the whole point, right?
Right.
So now you went from graduating at UNM. All this time you were still playing in the symphony,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. Right.
Now you're the band director at Thomas Jefferson Middle School.
Yeah, well, and that's quite a few years later. I for you know, so I did finish this, you know, music ed
Hmm.
certification degree. I taught half-time at McKinley Middle School.
Okay.
I think it was 86, 87. Along in that time, personnel manager with the symphony came open, and I applied for that. And so I became for 10 years, 4 months, and 2 weeks. I I was the orchestra personnel manager of the New Mexico Symphony Orchestra,
Oh, okay.
and
I
I was
did not
still,
know that.
yeah, I was still, you know, doing private teaching and all that stuff. But I had, you know, had this administrative job, and anyway, and so, you know, and I learned a lot. I mean, I must have heard 10,000 auditions in those 10 years, because we were, you know, churning through kind of a lot of people at that time, and you know, and dealing with, you know, budgets and spreadsheet, getting everybody paid, you know. So I learned a lot about just you know, dealing with kind of nuts and bolts of things, to keep, you know, help keep an organization running. And and so yeah, I had, you know, and I had like I said, a lot of great kind of. I mean, it was also very stressful too, because you know, you're always. I mean, I wasn't involved in, you know, of course, in fundraising and all that kind of stuff, but you know, dealing with the stresses of a kind of growing orchestra that's trying to find, you know, what's the best balance
Yeah,
of
right.
how much you can offer musicians versus what you can on a regular basis uh, earn from ticket sales and donations and grants, and, you know, just the whole package of things
Hmm.
that it takes to keep a group running. Um, and then there was a point where I just said, you know, I have to find, you know, because I was starting to not enjoy playing, just because
Uh-huh.
I had all this other noise going on in my head of, you know, and just knowing all the issues of everybody, you know. So as a playing personnel manager, you know, and I was able to contain that for a long time, but there's just a point, just the whole stress of the situation was affecting my, you know, really kind of yeah, just affecting my mental focus during performing and playing. And and concurrently, or yeah, around that time, I took a summer, like, week long, 2 weeks, I think maybe it was just a week long seminar with a very interesting music ed guy, Ed Gordon,
Okay.
who had this really great approach to well, music learning theory.
Interesting. Okay.
And this was like another kind of little milestone for me, to hear some really good ideas about basic musical training that you can apply at all levels. You know, obviously elementary kind of music you know, is very clear for them. There's lots of, you know, Orff and Kodai and all these kinds of things. But
Hmm.
he had this, and they had come up, him and a couple other people had come up with like a band method, an orchestra method of learning by really a lot of really great ear training, learning to play songs, from audiation and hearing, but giving them the tools, in terms of scale frameworks and solfege, to be able to do that, and then adding the reading component, the written component, sort of concurrently, but a little after that. The more they can play and hear by ear, the better they're going to be able to read. If you do, just like anything, if
Yeah.
you work it right and teach it right. And to me, that was like, oh my God, this is exactly the way I wish I had learned uh, to to play at first, because I was always pretty well engaged earwise and all of that, but anyway, and so that I was like, oh, you know what, maybe I could, this is like something to pin on, that would be a really good curriculum, for being able to teach. And so
Right.
I taught in Los Lunas for like about a year and a half, and then got this thing at Jefferson.
Okay.
Um, and really just because I didn't want to teach high school, because you're involved in all the football stuff and just, too much night stuff. So it would bug into my playing too much, performing. So I did, and I lasted 14 and a half years.
Okay, that answered my next question. I was about to ask how long you taught there. So you taught
Yeah.
for 14 and a half years. So it's interesting. And you, I mean, obviously you liked it enough to stay that long. What was there any particular reason why you were done? Was it just like, you know what, I've done it, I've had my time, I'd like to pass it on to somebody else?
So that my last, I mean, some of it was just, I think age, my normal mode of engaging with people is I'm alone, and I don't, I'm a really, actually really quite an introvert. and and so for me, I mean, this sounds horrible to say, but the pandemic was like, there's no difference, except I don't go to work. I don't go to, we don't have rehearsals for a while, and concerts and stuff. And so for me, even during the pandemic, just once a week at the drive-through at Starbucks or something, hi to somebody, and that was like, that's enough for me. I don't need to see I don't need a lot of people around. And I was so lucky. I had really good principals
Right.
the whole time, and great support, and mentors that I could learn from, or kind of figure out what's my own, how to do all of this. And it was, and I enjoyed the mix here. Again, the mix of people is a very, very diverse school. It was a school that would pull transfers in depending on how many kids were actually, coming in from the area. So
Mhm.
we'd have people from South Valley, North, I mean, all over the place, especially in band.
Right.
So it was like, not like teaching in just a neighborhood kind of school that's sort of one kind of person. We had a really large range of people. They had a very big gifted program at the school at that time. So you had this enormous gamut of people, and plus being near UNM, you've
Hmm.
got people from different places and different, so I like to really enjoy the variety there.
Okay.
And I
Now,
got, yeah.
I was going to say, so now in the middle of all of this, you were a conductor for the AYSO, right? Or an
Right.
assistant conductor?
Yeah, no, well, a co-conductor. I certainly, after I came to Jefferson, the woman who was teaching strings, had the orchestra program at Jefferson, was a junior symphony co-conductor, so the upper of the two middle school groups. And they were like, whoever was doing it right before me, I can't remember, but they needed somebody. And so I got in on that. So like starting in 98, in the fall, I was doing, junior symphony, and that met on Saturday mornings at
Hmm.
Jefferson. And I did that for 11 years, uh,
Wow.
and did sectionals with the youth, the high school kind of group, some of that. And which I had been doing a fair amount of, in previous years. But yeah, so had that group. So I was teaching during the day. I was still teaching lessons, in the
Oh my
afternoon.
God. So wait, you were performing with the NMSO at the time. You were
Yeah.
teaching full time at Thomas Jefferson. You were doing AYSO, and you had a full trombone studio, and you were probably doing master classes. Do you think you were busy enough?
I was too busy.
Yeah, see, that's the problem.
There came a point, and I'd say it was probably right after I turned 50, um, that I was, you just start, you get to the age where, you really just need a nap in the afternoon and not, and so I cut way back on my, private teaching, um, so that I could be, have enough brains left to be functional at an evening rehearsal or evening concert. Yeah, so I cut way back on the private teaching, and then continued to do that. And so, but about the time, so NMSO folded, in the spring of
2011.
2011. We had already, I mean, we were in big trouble for at least 2 years prior to that, and everybody's realizing, oh, okay, who knows what's going to happen. And so the players we had incorporated a a 501(c) or whatever, just thinking that if this blows up, we need to have a corporation ready to really deal with money and to have all of that set. And so right away, we started doing concerts on our own, and then I wound up, I don't know, foolishly, for some reason, on the board of directors, and because we're going to start this new orchestra, the New Mexico Philharmonic, and so and then 11, 12, that's my last year of teaching. I think really just with all of that going on, trying to get this new orchestra restarted, and hiring a manager, and just running this thing. Plus my mother was very old, and was failing, and eventually died that spring in 2012. I think I was just starting to I was just burned out.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I
I
agree.
figured I'm either going to be one, like a person that's just doing the 3 or 4 more years, uh, to like full pension kind of thing, as just kind of this burnout thing,
Yeah.
or I was going to go completely rageaholic crazy, and I didn't want either one. I just felt I couldn't, and it was probably have been a rash decision based on a really tough year. I mean, looking
Oh,
back,
yeah.
it was a really hard year.
Yeah, I
And
understand. I mean, that's when you get to that point where everything's up to here,
yeah,
and it's almost you have to almost purge everything.
yeah,
There are some things you can't get rid of, as in you weren't going to drop out of the orchestra or anything, but
right,
you get to a point where you get to over here, or actually here, where you don't have a choice. Things got to go,
right. And that's,
and I've been there. I understand that completely.
yeah. And so that was really, and I had enough years and enough year credits, and with various things, plus my age at the time, that I could qualify, for pension.
Right.
uh, not full, but
Yeah.
enough to get by. I mean, which was great. And I thought, this is, I should stop doing this.
Okay.
And I miss the students, but on the other hand, I just felt like I just didn't have the kind of zeal to go on much further, and it was the right thing to do at the time.
Right. And you have to have the enthusiasm, because if you're a teacher, or if you are someone and you feel like you're burnt out, that's
Yeah,
going to come through in how your personality, and as you said before, you're an introvert by nature, and then all of a sudden it just starts internalizing and churning, and it
Right.
just gets worse. It just
Yeah.
gets, trust me, I understand, I feel
Yeah.
for you, I do.
Yeah.
So now you are an extremely busy performer, because you are the you play second trombone in the new Mexico Philharmonic, which took
Yeah.
over from the NMSO. So you have been there since their conception.
Right.
You are also the principal trombonist for Santa Fe Symphony Orchestra and Chorus. I should be
Hmm.
very specific.
Right. Right.
You are the principal trombonist for the Music in the Mountains Summer Festival in Durango every year,
Right.
right?
But actually, I've moved to second now. It's a really good orchestra. It's a 3 week
Yeah.
festival, and I am just thrilled to be able to still survive on second. Uh, doing that because yeah, there's a
Oh,
lot of
I looked at the list of all the
oh
players that have. Oh my God,
right, right.
it is like the cream of the crop.
Yeah,
And
it's a
so
really good, yeah, and so that's like it's a really great experience. So you go through a lot of repertoire in the 3 weeks, 8 or 9 orchestra programs
that's a lot.
of various things. Yeah,
Yeah.
so but it's a festival, and I mean I love doing that. So it's
Okay. So you also do a lot of pit orchestra work for traveling Broadway shows.
yeah, I mean whatever
So
comes through. Yeah.
yeah, so you do all of that. Gosh, did I miss anything? Is there, besides your conducting work, which we'll talk about in a minute,
Oh yeah.
besides any of that, did I miss anything? Because obviously you are extremely busy as a trombone performer too.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, sometimes there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of slack time too. It's not like this is not like New York or LA where you're hustling for work all the time. I mean, it's much more low key. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's a good amount of playing,
Right?
and I am just fine with it.
Okay. So
With
now in 2018, you took over as the conductor and musical director for the Albuquerque Philharmonic, which the Albuquerque Philharmonic, if people aren't aware of it, we are celebrating our 50th anniversary. So tell me how you got that position, because
yeah.
that's rather unique. I know you have very good conductoral abilities, because you'd been a pops conductor and you'd conducted the NMSO every once in a while. You've done some work with the New Mexico Philharmonic as an alternate conductor. So tell me about how you got this job.
Well, it's funny. David Fehlberg, who had been doing the orchestra for, yeah, I think probably maybe 15 years. Anyway, he decided it was time to, you know, lay aside, doing the APO, and so previous to 2018, so they went through they did basically a conductor search, and had a lot of like guest conductors do programs, and I think I must have done 3 programs somewhere in between 15, 16, 17. I forget the years exactly, but something like that. Um, and and then there are other people doing some of the other programs, and some miracle of these things are always who do you like, who's available and wants to do it, and because a conductor search is, you don't always get your ideal, it's always a compromise, and
Mhm.
I fully realize that, having been through five or at least six conductor music director searches. It's there are just so many variables
Yeah.
that you have to put together to find someone that you think is going to work out okay and be an asset to everyone. So I have no illusions about being like the star of some kind of thing. I was kind of like they felt like I guess I was the best compromise of things. Just like choosing a mouthpiece or something. It's like
Yeah.
there are always pluses and minuses, and you find at that moment what's going to be the best best fit. And I'm thrilled to have done it. I mean, I am doing it.
Doing it, not done it. You are still conducting.
Right, right. You have to take into account how the people in front of you, how they play, how they respond, and the challenge is, and here again, it's at any level of finding the best set of musical attributes that go with the style that people play in, in some ways you convince people about a different way of maybe doing it within how they play.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's the real art of it, because you just can't impose everything. I mean, nobody, I haven't got that kind of energy to like detail every, give everybody like some kind of
Right.
lesson. So I try to find a very few things to say that are going to help a lot of things, so it's a lot of balance and style.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, everybody who's playing in groups, everybody wants to do really well. There's nobody trying to sabotage anything. So there's nothing to get mad about.
Right.
It's not like it's not like some enemy or something that, oh, they're spoiling my idea of the, some kind of thing like that. Because everybody in front of you is doing their dead level best to play their best at all, really just about all the time. And then it's a matter of kind of figuring out how to make things match up best you can. I mean, I'm really lucky with this orchestra in that, I mean, it's kind of a miracle that people will come together, organize themselves,
Mm-hmm.
not just sit down and, okay, let's, play some tunes, but to have the organizational backbone to do all of this. I mean, I think and that people will find a way to pull together and do it. I'm just kind of in awe of. I mean, all the ones that are people that serve on the board and do all the work, because it kind of makes it easy for me, because all I have to do is show up and rehearse and do the thing I like to do. I
Right.
don't.
Oh, and you do it so well because you pull out of these musicians the emotion and the music attributes that you're able to make happen. It's amazing.
It's almost like being how some people talk about sculpting,
Mm-hmm.
where a sculptor is you're taking away all the stuff that isn't the art,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of chipping away at, and so in music, I'm always trying to reveal what the real, or trying to seek what's the real truth in this piece, or the things. And it's not just it's not just one way of doing it, because you have to fashion something that works with what the group will do with you, and find and that's really the challenge, finding what's that best way to make this thing go.
So we're running out of time. I want to thank Byron for joining me. I want to thank you for all the things you do. I love listening to you play. I love working with you as a trumpet player in the orchestra.
And ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you next time.